Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Google Workspace Recap, a Tab Geeks Network show. Each week we take you through everything announced by Google Workspace, discussing the updates of the week and other relevant news and announcements. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson, and we're here to help you keep up. Big announcement, I'm proud to announce the launch of our newest show, SaaS Showdown. It's not Steve and I hosting, after all, we do need to be able to sleep once in a while. It's two amazing IT experts, Rose Layton and Colin McCarthy, discussing using and managing SaaS Ops while staying sane. Sorry about that. Go and check it out at SaaSShowdown.com or on our YouTube channel and or your favorite podcasting platforms. One last bit of news also to add to that. Over here on Workspace Recap, we have just passed 10,000 downloads for the last 6 months, which is the amount of downloads we did for the year last year. So thank you to everybody who's listening. We have, at this rate, doubled our audience since we've gone to video and started doing YouTube. So that's not bad. Steve, how's it going?
Yeah, that's pretty exciting numbers there. I was pretty impressed when you sent me the message by reaching it a lot earlier than we did last year.
Yeah.
So I was pretty surprised. And I'm looking forward to the SaaS Showdown. I mean, we work with Rose and Colin quite a lot, or we're on calls with them quite a lot regularly.
Yep.
And it's nice to see them kind of part of the Tab Geeks network now officially.
Woohoo!
It's been a long time coming, as we've known.
Months of production. The first one is always the hardest, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a cybersecurity show and a disaster recovery show coming next, and hopefully those will take less time to treat and develop and get out.
Ooh, you know what I was just thinking? We're getting close to our 100th episode here.
Not that close.
Well, if you include 50-something from last year for each week, plus a couple extras, plus this year we're at 24, plus the extras we've done this year, it's closer than you think.
It is getting closer. I forgot about all the extras.
We're gonna have to tally those up and then make
What
sure.
are we gonna do for our 100th episode, Steve?
That's a good question.
I think you have to fly out, and we have to do an in-person show.
Ooh, yeah. That could be good. We'll have to find out when that falls on if we don't do any extra episodes in between.
There you go. I'll host you in the studio, and we'll realize the fact that, hey, both our studios are designed for only hosting in a studio separate, not for having two people in the same room. It'll sound like crap.
Yeah. Yeah. So, let's see. I'll have to... I'll bring my Zoom with me so we can have them on the same
there you
input
go.
then. Maybe that'll help.
Well, I've got the XLR to work.
Perfect. That's a good idea. That's a good idea for the 100th episode, is to do it in person finally and actually get to meet each other.
Yeah, can you believe that? Everybody in the audience, can you believe that? Steve and I have never officially met in person. There was that time at, although that's IO, at the meetup, the Google Apps for Work meetup back in the day, where we were probably in the same room as each other, or rooms multiple times.
We're
definitely in the same room. Somewhere in the same room together. I'd love to see if we could get like a recording of that and be like, oh, just past each other.
Yeah. I don't know. If
we probably talked, by the way, given
we might
I work the room. I like to talk to lots of people, and you somehow managed to talk to lots of people, and
I don't know if we did, but I'm sure.
Remember the Star Wars
next
tables?
to each other eating.
Do you remember the Star Wars
outside.
theme one? They had Star Wars tables at one of the events. Those were fun. They had like TVs in the table playing the classic Star Wars, and I don't mean any of that newfangled shit. I mean the old stuff. You missed that one? That was a fun one. That was a good after party.
Could have been a different year too. I don't know.
I
was there the year that they did like the Cirque du Soleil stuff in the tent.
Oh yeah, sure. I have pictures of that party. Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's the year.
I was hanging out with a couple of Googlers. I have a picture of me and some other people I was hanging out with a couple of Googlers with one of those performers, which. That was Cirque du Soleil? That was weird.
It was
Cirque du Soleil style.
Style,
okay,
yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it was exactly them. No, it was like that. That's why I mentioned it, because you'd remember that.
Yeah. I remember that one. I gotta look through those photos. Maybe you're in one of those shots.
I might be in one of those photos. Yeah, I don't remember taking
too
many photos that year, but I think I lost all those from way back back then.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, yeah, they're all on a hard drive somewhere that fell over. And doesn't work anymore. It's just
that's what I've been doing lately. I've been going through all my hard drives and going through just dropped one. Going through all my hard drives and uploading them to Google Drive and making sure that I've got all the files in one place. Not to mention my 12 terabytes of local storage that I have here for editing. It's like, oh, finally, enough storage in one place for me to be able to actually go through and deduplicate all of this shit and then get it in the cloud.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, looking
topics.
at this week's episode, yes, we another kind of quiet week in terms of the number of updates, but some solid ones, I would say, this week. At least 2 of the 3 are pretty solid. Of course, the last one you're gonna, chastise, I think, here. But and then we had a couple in the end of week recap as well, some silent releases, as we like to refer to them as. And let's run down those for you, all those for you. So in those 2 silent releases, it is the first one. The first one is find and insert Gifs for faster. Find and insert GIFs faster on Google Chat on iOS devices.
It's not faster. It's at all on iOS.
Well,
how are you going to do it beforehand?
I don't care, honestly. I don't really care. That was my comment from our pre notes. It's like, I don't really care about GIFs.
Obviously, you're not a millennial.
Yeah, obviously not.
You're aging yourself, Steve.
Yeah, set a custom duration for Do Not Disturb in Google Chat on the web and iOS devices. So those are our 2 silent releases in the end of week recap. And then for our updates that we have throughout the week, there's new admin controls for access to Discover Spaces in Google Chat, which is a pretty cool one. Context Aware Access Remediator provides more context for access denials. And then we have number 3 on the list, our last one, is mark your important tasks with a star in Google Tasks. And Jesse's just waiting for Google to actually release a full-featured task application there.
Do you see my eye twitching over here? Do you see my eye twitching? Stop teasing us and give us a frickin' tasks app already. Come on.
Yeah. And then I can swear, so every week I check for updates and all these other products. And last week, after June 2nd, I could swear that the update for Drive for Desktop was not on there for the version 59 announcement. So I am now, every week as we do our prep on Mondays, going to the Wayback Machine and logging what the Drive for Desktop updates page looks like on that day, and then going back and seeing when it actually changes, because I'm convinced that they published the updates well after the actual update happened, because this is like the second time that I'm thinking, like, wait, last week I checked this and it wasn't there, and the date is after our recap post. So as of June 2nd, there was an update for Drive for Desktop, version 59. We'll dive into the details on what that includes during the updates. And then for our other topics of the week, there is another kind of feedback, UI, UX type of survey, poll, whatever you want to call it, out there in the Cloud Connect community. So Space Managers, they're looking for feedback on Space Manager's new features. And if you want to sign up for that, we'll have the link where you can sign up. Then we have a few other items here in the news. Google's Screencast app for Chrome OS lets teachers record video lessons. Then here's one that Jesse was just watching here as we were about to record, is see how Shaq uses Google Workspace to help run his successful business. Big chicken.
Big chicken.
Yeah, I didn't even know he had a business, but I guess he does. And as you said, of course, it's successful at Shaq, right? How else could it not be?
Well, not always, but it's Shaq.
Yeah,
so
perhaps. The 5 most dreaded works at the office. Oh, words.
Words. Did I typo there? Sorry about that.
Yes, it says
5
words.
most dreaded words at the
Yes,
office.
yes. Let me just modify that. Words at the office. Let's start a Google Doc. And I've heard some people in certain other offices that I know have their IT team send around like presentations that just have like Google in this line through it and say, you can't use Google, we have Microsoft.
Yeah, that article had smoke coming out of my ears. We'll get into that.
I bet. And then last on the list of our other topics here in the news, all signs point to Chrome OS for kiosks and signage. And I've been using it recently in 1871 for a lot of our digital signage. We replaced a lot of very poorly managed or poor to manage Intel, HDMI dongles or Lenovo dongles. They were just, really bad. And it's been like night and day managing kiosk devices with Chrome OS. So it's
nice.
good. Yep.
Yeah, I have to play around with it. I have a couple of use cases for it.
Yeah. All right, diving into the details of those updates. So as I said, a wonderful update here on being able to find and insert GIFs faster on Google Chat and on iOS devices. So you can now easily browse, select, and insert these GIFs whilst you're using Chat on the iOS mobile app.
I have to tell you, I used that feature about 85 times this week.
I never use it, but
well,
it's great.
You're obviously not a millennial.
Your admin has to enable it, so I will make sure to disable it on all of my domains.
Well,
just so we can
I'm not sure if it has to be enabled or if you already had to have had, because I didn't have to change the feature. I already had
it just
Gifs
says
enabled in classic Hangouts.
When enabled by your admin, so it's probably just a feature that an admin could disable. So they just want to make sure that they know that it may not be available because your admin could have disabled it.
Especially if your admin is Steve. I've had it interesting that
I wouldn't disable it. I just won't use it.
The toggle for this is in Google Chat and Classic Hangouts. I mean, they've been building out a lot of new features. I guess that's a good place to put it. But at some point there, they got to separate the two.
Oh,
Google Chat and Classic Hangouts, especially as Hangouts goes the way of the dodo.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or just call it Google Chat. And no more Hangouts.
Yeah.
But I guess as long as Hangout's still lingering around, you gotta mention both.
Right. Well, is it Hangouts or is it Duo?
Well, it's gonna be Meet, right?
Yes.
Isn't it?
That was the joke. Yes.
Yeah. Next, we have set a custom duration for Do Not Disturb in Google Chat on the web and your iOS devices. So you can now set that duration for your DND status. Just specific date and time, so it gives you some more flexibility there to mute notifications when it best suits you. It was already available on Android and iOS devices. It looks like, or this feature is now available on the web, Android and iOS, so it probably was available on Android first, and now coming to web and iOS devices. There we go. All right. So next in the 3 updates, one of the major updates we have here. First one is the ability for admins to control access to discoverable spaces in Google Chat. So if you remember, Spaces gained a new feature where they can become discoverable by anyone in the organization. So this takes it a step further, and it gives your users the ability to assign a target audience group as a segment of your users where that space is visible. So if you haven't started using target audiences, here is a great opportunity to use it. Of course, you also have to be using chat, which I think you should be. And when your users create that, they will now have the option to select a target audience group that space is visible to. So it's not just anyone in the organization. It can be a little bit more granular in terms of who can discover that space. And of course, this feature, not of course, but this feature is only available to certain SKUs. And in terms of availability, I'll get into which SKUs that in a second. You just do the rollout pace first. So rollout pace on this one, has started on the 6th of June on an extended rollout for rapid release and scheduled release domains, which can be potentially longer than 15 days for feature visibility in this case. And the SKUs that it's going to be going to, it is Workspace Enterprise Plus, or Workspace, sorry. Well, yes, Enterprise Plus, of course, but also Business Plus, Enterprise Standard, Education Plus, and Education Standard. Okay, hopefully, yeah, Education Standard, Education Plus, Enterprise Plus, Education, Enterprise Standard, and Business Plus. Sorry, I was reading the list backwards here for a second and got confused. But it's not available to Essentials, Business Starter, etc., frontline, nonprofits, legacies, and also not available to Workspace individual users or personal Google accounts. So limited in its availability there to just those few that I mentioned at the beginning of that list. Next, we have context-aware access. Remediator provides more context for access denials. So for those of you that are using context-aware access, you will recall that you've had the ability to set this custom message to your users to let them know that, hey, you need to contact your admin, for example. This takes a little step further, gives you some additional messaging that you can include. So, for example, when you don't have access to something, you can mention the requirements and say something like switch to devices owned by your organization and contact your admin if you don't have access to one. And then you have a contact email there as well at the bottom of the message that kind of give an example of what that message looks like in the support article to see what it looks like for those end users. And this setting is going to be rolling out starting June 6th, so last week, on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for feature visibility on both the scheduled release and rapid release domains. And as this is context-aware access, there is limited availability. So it is going to be only for Enterprise Plus, Education Plus, and Cloud Identity Premium customers. Not available to anyone else. And then last on the list of updates, we have the ability to mark your important tasks with a star in Google Tasks. So just pretty straightforward, kind of as the title indicates, you can star those important tasks. You can then also look at just the tasks that are starred and give you just another way to filter those tasks that are in your list. Rollout pace on this one, this started the 8th of June, and also a gradual rollout up to 15 days for feature visibility on both rapid release and scheduled release domains. And this one is going to be available to everyone, as well as the legacy G Suite Basic and business customers. I'm really glad when legacy G Suite Basic and business is just done with, so I can just say Workspace and the one of many SKUs that are available for that one. So that wraps up the topics for the week. I will kind of jump into the first additional news.
I was going to ask one question on the tasks one. Do you think people inside of Google employees in the audience, let us know. Steve, do you think they're actually using Google Tasks for proper task management? I mean, I know that Google dog food stuff, and I know that they have early access to tools long before we have them. So it's possible at this point that it's a full-blown version of it, and they're just torturing us by trickling it out. But is that possible that they're really using such a limited product and thinking that, hey, this is a great way to manage your very complex environments that we're enabling you to do through our cloud-based software?
So,
Gmail is incredibly complex. Each of the editors are incredibly complex. And then there's tasks.
Okay, so
even Keep has more features.
So we use Asana a lot. And
I love Asana. I wish it didn't cost as much as the entirety of Google Workspace.
Yeah, it costs us, it's like we're a nonprofit. We spend like $15,000 a year on Asana. It's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous also because I think that we don't leverage, most people don't leverage the functionality. So, other than some teams that are using it for like submitting a form and creating some tasks, and like our onboarding and offboarding process is handled through Asana and a project for the new hire and the leaver, because it's kind of a cross-functional thing. So
That's
in that
common.
regard, works pretty well.
Sure.
But for pretty much everything else I do, I'm pretty sure tasks would like tick the box for everything. And I just don't like to use either, honestly. But
Yeah.
I think.
Well, how do you keep track of your tasks then?
No, I don't. I mean, I just
Oh, well,
have
that wouldn't work for me.
emails and I don't use anything for it. I don't know.
For me,
Remember?
I mean, I live inside of Asana. I have Asana open on one window. I have my help desk open on another window, and I have Gmail open on another window, and then my browser moves back and forth, right? Different browsers, whatever.
Yeah.
Living inside of Asana, I've got all my meeting notes go in there, all the things I'm working on go in there, and I have different boards for different things. I don't have a different board for every single project. Only the really big projects get their own board. So fine,
Right.
if you want to convert that, like the experiment I did several months ago, where I tried using spaces with tasks in spaces for doing task management, in theory, yeah, for the largest projects that works, but you still have a lot of, times where you don't necessarily want to have a space for all of that. You don't need to have chats with people. You just need to be able to, track where all of these things are going. And if everybody's not using the system, I guess like any other task management system, if everyone's not using it, then it's not going to work all that well. But even with having everything inside of a space, doing it the way Google envisions, it's still difficult to properly look at just a list of tasks and know what's what and what's where. It's either there or it's completed, right? It doesn't have different phases. It doesn't have, like a Kanban board or the ability, does it? I don't think so. I haven't used it in a little while, but it doesn't have the ability to differentiate even priority, for example, right? If I want to have, I have a project that's in Vegas. We're rolling out security cameras at one of our properties, right? I need to have lots of different people on that project. Lots of different teams are doing a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
Whether it's the construction teams that are doing the conduit, the networking guys that are doing the running of the cable and the mounting of the cameras, the help desk team that's configuring and training the end users on it. The end users, the people, the security guards that are doing the actual response to these cameras and monitoring these cameras. All of these people need to be involved. It's a mess of lots of tasks. It's just one big list. I could do that in Excel. I could do that in Sheets. What do I need it in Gmail for? Because I can assign it to somebody else? Oh, so then they're going to come in and say you can assign it to somebody else if you do it in a doc. But then it doesn't show up anywhere else.
I mean, you have the different lists to like create a different project in there. And then
but those lists don't sync with the different rooms. Do they? The different spaces?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it out to see where it would go.
Like if
you created
I
space,
mean, if I remember correctly, I know that I can have the tasks that are assigned to me in a space show up in my tasks, and it does tell me that it came from that room, but it's not like I can just say, okay, show me all the things that are due today for this project of this space. I don't know. I just think it's a half-assed effort that has a lot more to do.
I mean, you can sort by date, so you can see which things are due today.
Sure, but I want to see by project. I want to only focus on the camera project today or this hour.
Right.
For example,
that's where you would choose. I mean, I'm looking now. Like I have my tasks, and I have the project alpha, and I have.
Suppose I could go into the space, but even in the space, can you just show the tasks that are assigned to you?
I don't know. I haven't. Like I said, I haven't used it that much.
I'm just curious if the people inside of Google are using a way more built-out version of this, and we're just suffering because they haven't seen fit to give it to us yet. It's not ready or whatever. Or if they just think that, hey, this is enough. Is this enough for people? I don't know. Folks in the audience, let us know. Am I crazy? It's possible. Jury's still out. How are you using tasks or not using tasks, and why? This needs to be a survey and an article.
Yeah, actually, I'm just looking like how...
That's my rant. I do it every time there's a tasks update. Gets bigger and better.
So if I go into tasks here, I'm looking at like our add a space task, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they're treating like add a space task. Okay, yeah. Schedule interview. Let's see what happens. happens here. I'll set it to tomorrow. Assign it to you, Jesse. And add. I'm going to add another one. So
Okay, I've got your notification on my phone.
HTML code. I'll send it to me. I'm looking to see what this. Okay, yeah. So for me, just doing that, you're right. It just comes into my tasks, and it shows that it came from that specific space.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
And so I can't list.
Never mind the
can't
fact that
limit.
there's not a direct interface for tasks. If I try to use it inside of
Yeah, I
Spaces
know.
or inside of Gmail, like
Yeah.
even that experience is just like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I
All
get
right.
it.
I've said
All
my
right.
piece. Let's move on.
So what was I talking about? I was talking about
Drive for desktop.
Well, not. Well, I guess yeah. Let me. You know what? You're right. Let me wrap that up as it updates. So version 59 of Drive for Desktop has been rolling out. It is, I think, available to most endpoints now. I think it's on most of mine, if
I've
not
got
all. It started rolling out June 2nd, and I am almost certain that the article was posted after June 2nd. So it'd be nice to see these updates prior to when they actually get released. The main update on this one is that the Drive for Desktop client now is going to be supporting the client-side encryption. So CSE. And what does it say here? It says synced encrypted files will appear as shortcuts on Windows and symbolic links on Mac. Additionally, users whose licenses support CSE can encrypt and upload local files to Drive. The one thing that I believe users were reporting is that even if you did not have that capability, you were seeing a menu item for client-side encryption, which I'm sure is a little bit confusing for someone that doesn't have access to the feature, seeing that option in their menus. It's a little bit unusual to see that. So keep that in mind. Your users may be seeing an option that they don't have access to because most people haven't set it up because it costs a fortune to enable this because you have to go through a third party. It's kind of like the PEXIP solution. Think of it like that. If you were ever curious about the cost of this, it's not cheap. But if you are using it, then, here we go. Drive for Desktop now supports client-side encryption. And then, of course, additional bug fixes and performance improvements, which are not mentioned in detail, also came out.
I hate that term.
I know.
Every app update I've ever gotten, could you be any more ambiguous?
Yeah, I was just doing a mass update of a whole bunch of Netgear equipment that I had, and it's like, security updates. Well, what security updates? What was vulnerable before? Why should I update it? Like, was it really that insecure?
Right.
Should I really need to update things, or can I, not? I don't know. That is all the updates. I'm going to remove these two little links here in our notes because that didn't happen. And Google, as I said, was looking for some feedback from space managers and your opinion on the new features. So Patricia Mole, it looks like. I don't know if that's the full name because that's just her username on the Google Cloud Connect community, Patricia Mole. She's a UX researcher and looking for some feedback. So if you are interested in feeding, what's that?
You need to have access to that. I don't have it on my TabGeeks account.
Yes, you do. You do need to have access to the community. And you know what? It looks like it is just feedback in that post. So it is not like an interview, but there are some questions here. There's 4 questions, a few sub-questions to the 4th one, and that she's asking about, or actually 5. I think the last one is not numbered. Head over there to the, it is in the Customer Connect private Customer Connect forum, If you don't have access to that, you've got to request access, and I think it does show you a form there. If you don't, I don't know, Jesse, you're looking at it now without access, right? Does it tell you how to connect or how to get access to that community?
Let me pull it back up. No, it just says you don't currently have access to view this page. Click your browser's back button to continue, or return to my original page.
All right,
access denied.
We'll find the link to request access to that community if you don't have access to it. I think it's just fill out a form, sign an NDA, POPA agreement, whatever, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to get access to it. So we'll do that. Let me just make sure I remember to add link to join the private space. Got it. All right.
Cool.
And that's all from me. Jesse's got a few updates here from the news. Take it away, Jesse.
Alrighty. So the first one here is Google's Screencast app for Chrome OS lets teachers record video lessons. This is a good one. It's your classic screen recording type of an app, it looks like. Google is obviously pushing hard further and cementing their dominance in the education market because, well, everybody coming out of education is going to be using Chrome and Google Workspace, and the next generation is only going to want to use Chrome and Google Workspace in business. So they're not the first ones to do it, as I wrote in my article of why Microsoft is afraid of Google, but they are the latest, and they've done it well, and so they're going to continue doing so. This is a new built-in app that allows teachers, I guess more than teachers, students also, to build a video library of lessons and demos students can turn to if they miss a class or need help with homework assignments, etc. This is available as of Chrome OS version M103, and you can also use it for trimming and transcribing clips. Do you think you can just take any video file, and trim it and transcribe it with this?
I don't know, but I clicked on the Shaq link, and then Shaq started screaming in my ear super loud. That's what was my reaction there before.
I was wondering.
Super loud Shaq in my ear.
That's the next update. You're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Blue Steve's eardrums out there. There's another feature that Google threw in there was a new cast moderator mode, which is designed to give teachers more control over on-screen presentations and content shared wirelessly within their classroom, which you can understand is something that they would definitely want for obvious reasons. A bunch of students and the ability to wirelessly just throw something up on the screen. Not a very good combo, so I'm sure a lot of people are very happy about receiving that feature. Okay. Onward to Shaq. Yes, it is a direct link to the YouTube video. And it seems that they're putting a lot more marketing power behind Google Workspace, which, of course, we're very happy to see. But essentially, this is a nice ad talking about how Shaquille O'Neal, is using Google Workspace to run his successful business, which is called Big Chicken. They're creating a chicken chain called Big Chicken. And he talks up the benefits of Google Workspace, him and some of his co-founders and managers there. But my favorite line from there, if I can remember to quote it verbatim, is that Google Calendar is his girlfriend, and that he's not able to know if he's able to do anything before he talks to his girlfriend to make sure that it's on his calendar and that he has time for it, because he's Shaq and he's crazy busy. I butchered the line there, so do yourself a favor and go watch it. I was cracking up. I thought it was very entertaining. Link in the show notes, of course. The next article, the article that had smoke coming out of my ears, flames coming out of my eyeballs were bleeding, so on and so forth. And I wasn't alone in this. There were a lot of other people in all of the communities that we're in that were like, what in the actual, bunk? 5 most dreaded words of the office. Let's start a Google Doc. And no offense to the person who wrote this article, but wow, you are so out of touch with how this is supposed to work and what the next generation of, work is and what all the benefits of Google Docs are. And they talk about being terrified that somebody is going to see their work before it is ready or complete, and that somebody could just drop in on this doc that they're working on and editing at any given time, because the first thing they do when they create the doc is share it. I don't know. I don't know what the workflow is here, but they're terrified of the anonymous wombat and all of Google's other adorable little anonymous, creatures.
It's not
up
anonymous
there.
unless you make it anonymous.
Exactly. It's only going to be able to be viewed anonymous if you throw the link out there in a way that people can view it anonymously. And if it's not, then if you're actually using it the way that you're supposed to, then you're going to know exactly who's viewing it. When Steve opens a doc, not only do I know that he's on the doc, I know where his cursor is if he wants to go and make a change or a comment because it shows up. It's been that way for a decade. This is not new, folks. You all know this. I am preaching to the choir here. But this article is in the Wall Street Journal. And I get that most of the world is still using Microsoft products, but even Microsoft products are doing this. Office 365 does this. And I don't understand. To quote the article here, go ahead.
It's like you're reading an article that is talking about, this new thing called the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like,
Give up on the internet as millions of
30
people
years after the internet
stop
was,
using it. Yeah, exactly. Somebody time travels from 1901 and they're reading about mass surveillance or cell phones or the fact that you can order a car and whatever, spy on your house and assistants in your homes that listen to everything that you say. Anyway, I digress. To quote the article, I watched them go line by line, he says. It was impressive and terrifying at the same time to see how quickly they were able to pick apart something that I've been working on for days. Okay, so you got to see it in real time as opposed to them doing it behind the scenes and coming and hitting you over the head with your work after the fact. Okay, so you can be involved in it. This is the collaborative experience here. And if you have that relationship with folks that they're ripping apart your work, well, maybe you shouldn't be working with those people. I don't know. The experience may have been a bit of a shared document karmic retribution. Quote, I do have a reputation for liking to destroy people's work, he says. Okay, so great. Now you know what it feels like. But that's not... you can see why I have smoke coming out of my ears. Google says in a written statement, the future is flexible, and the value of docs means that people can work and collaborate together from anywhere when it works for them, despite any friction people may feel about collaborating with a colleague or an anonymous armadillo. It continues to go on. It just talks about more examples of this, and they don't get it. They honestly don't get the benefits of it. They don't get the benefits of all the good that has come out of Google Workspace. Of not having to send 8,000 different versions of a doc, version 8.7.1 final last revision before we send it off to the speech, writer, to the publisher, or whatever. There is... Sure, change is hard, but this isn't the new part of it.
I'm so tempted of just putting